The cold reaches you first, not the air, the rail. Your bare hands gripping iron that feels like it was carved from ice itself. Somewhere above you, a bell rings 3 times, sharp, fast. Wrong. You feel the deck tilt beneath your boots, just slightly, just enough a shape slides past in the dark, taller than the ship's own railings, pale against the black ocean under a sky crowded with more stars than you have ever seen. For one strange suspended second, nothing happens at all. Then the whole world groans. It is 11:40 p.m. on April 14th, 1912. You are a second-class passenger aboard the RMS Titanic, 4 days into a crossing from Southampton to New York. You booked this passage for a fresh start, a job waiting in Brooklyn, a cousin who wrote letters describing streets wider than any you'd known back home. Tonight, you'd gone up for air after a long evening in the dining saloon, restless, unable to sleep in a cabin that still smelled of fresh paint. The ship around you is the largest moving object ever built by human hands. 882 feet of riveted steel, watertight compartments engineers called unsinkable, though you never once heard that word used by anyone actually working the decks. Officer William Murdoch is on the bridge tonight. He gave the order the moment lookout. Frederick Fleet rang that bell and telephoned down 4 words that would follow him for the rest of his life. Iceberg, right ahead. You did not hear those words, you only felt the ship answer them, turning hard to port, engines thrown into reverse, too much mass moving too fast for any turn to matter in time. The scrape along the hull lasts perhaps 10 seconds to you. Standing at the rail, it barely registers as anything more than a shudder and a low grinding hum somewhere deep below your feet. A few passengers laugh, someone jokes about a bit of ice being nothing to worry over. You almost believe them. Almost. But you notice the ship isn't moving anymore. The engines have gone quiet in a way engines aren't supposed to go quiet mid-ocean at midnight. Right now, the stakes are not what they will become in an hour. Right now, the danger is invisible, folded up inside 6 long gashes below the waterline, in compartments never designed to flood in sequence like this. The ship carries 2,224 people tonight, enough lifeboats for barely half of them, a number that meets the outdated regulations of the era, but nothing close to what the ship actually needs. You don't know that yet? Nobody at the rail does. What you know is that a steward has just walked past asking everyone calmly, almost apologetically, to please put on their lifebelts and make their way to the boat deck. Just a precaution, he says. His voice doesn't shake, but his hands do. You go below for your coat and the corridor already tilts, just barely, the angle wrong in a way your inner ear notices before your mind admits it. Bags fluttering out from under bunks. A trickle of water where no water should be sliding along a seam in the floor near the mailroom, where 5 clerks are already wading knee-deep, trying to save sacks of registered post. Because that is the job they were hired to do, and they intend to keep doing it until they physically cannot. This is where the real weight of tonight settles onto you. Not the iceberg itself, but what the iceberg reveals. Class and deck level will decide in the coming 90 minutes who reaches a lifeboat and who does not. Third-class passengers face locked gates, meant to satisfy immigration inspection rules, gates that will cost precious minutes people don't have. First-class passengers are steps from the boat deck already. You are somewhere between, close enough to reach the boats if you move now. Far enough that hesitation could cost you everything. On deck, the band is playing. Witnesses will later disagree about which song, whether it was ragtime to keep spirits calm or something quieter near the very end. But they agree on this. The musicians kept playing, officers begin loading boats under the rule, women and children first, a rule interpreted differently, boat by boat, officer by officer, sometimes strictly, sometimes not at all. Lifeboat number 6 lowers with just 28 aboard in a boat built for 65. Fear, confusion, and disbelief that anything could truly sink work against simple logic all at once. You reach a boat, maybe you're pulled aboard because you're traveling with a child, or because an officer waves you forward without asking questions, or maybe you're one of the many second-class men who simply doesn't make it, and the record of that choice becomes decades later, a statistic historians still study for what it reveals about how people behave under sudden unfamiliar catastrophe. If you're among those in the water when the ship finally breaks and slips under near 2:20 AM, survival becomes almost entirely about temperature, not swimming skill. The Atlantic sits near 28 degrees Fahrenheit that night, cold enough that hypothermia can incapacitate a person in 15 to 30 minutes. Shipwright Thomas Andrews, who designed much of the vessel, is last seen standing quietly in the first-class smoking room, staring at a painting, having already done everything in his power to help others toward the boats. Historians and psychologists have spent over a century studying this night, not for the engineering failure alone, but for what it exposed about human behavior under extreme sudden risk. Social psychologist Bib Latané's later research into bystander behavior echoes something visible that night. Groups react slower than individuals expect, deferring, hesitating, waiting for someone else to move first, even while time runs out. The ship's radio operators, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, stay at their Marconi set, sending distress calls long after they've been told they may go, a choice historians still describe as one of quiet, ordinary heroism. Of the roughly 710 who survive, most owe it to a boat, a decision, or a few minutes made in either direction. Of the more than 1,500 who don't, many are simply on the wrong deck at the wrong moment, held back by a locked gate, a delayed order, or plain disbelief that a ship this size could possibly be sinking. You spend hours in a lifeboat under that impossibly clear sky, watching lights vanish into black water, hearing sounds you will never fully describe to anyone who wasn't there. Rescue arrives near 4 in the morning. The RMS Carpathia steaming through ice fields that had claimed a ship twice her size only hours earlier. What Titanic reveals isn't really about icebergs, it's about how thin the line runs between routine and catastrophe, how much of survival comes down to which deck you happen to be standing on, and how even in humanity's worst moments, some people choose to keep playing music, keep sending signals, keep doing their job, simply because it is theirs to do. You still feel that cold sometimes, don't you? Not the ocean, the rail. The 10 seconds when nothing seemed wrong yet,